Welcome back to Movies Explained. Today's film is a horror thriller from 2019 titled Dark Waters. The film opens in Parkersburg, West Virginia. In 1975, a group of friends secretly go for a swim in the river at night. Two men from West Virginia Containment Services scare them away and spray some kind of disinfectant all over the river on their boats. The scenes cut directly to 1998. Where the film's lead, Robert, is attending one of his firm's meetings. He works at a law firm as a defense attorney. Robert is dragged out of the meeting to see a farmer named Wilbur Tennant. Wilbur hands him a box full of tapes containing evidence against a chemical firm called DuPont and asks Robert to help him investigate the company for its toxins that are killing his cows. Robert humbly refuses to help him and returns to his meeting. After work, he tries to call his grandmother from a local payphone, but his call goes straight to voicemail. He returns home to his wife and an infant. The next morning, he pays a visit to his grandmother in Parkersburg. When he drives through her neighborhood, he spots a little girl cycling, whose teeth are visibly black and rotten. His grandmother welcomes him with a warm meal and convinces him to help Wilbur. She also persuades him to visit Wilbur's farm. When Robert pays him a visit, he straight up shows him the unusually large lumps and tumors that he found in his cows, alongside bloated organs and black teeth. He brings to Robert's light his brother, who worked at DuPont. He became suspiciously sick, after which DuPont purchased all his land and turned it into a waste dumping yard. Despite promising not to, they dump so much chemical on the land that it has intoxicated the water in the sewers and the stream nearby, from where his cows quench their thirst regularly. Wilbur brings Robert to the graveyard, where he's buried more than 190 cows, who keep dying one after another. Wilbur discloses that even doctors have failed to find a root cause of his cows' deaths, even after performing autopsies and finding cancers, rotten organs, and black teeth. Wilbur frustratingly shares that not even the state is helping him out, which silences Robert. He returns home and helps his wife take care of the child. Scenes cut to a social event.
Please welcome Phil Donnelly.
At DuPont, we're not producing chemicals for chemicals' sake, we're producing them for people's sake, to make folks' lives easier, happier.
Where Robert meets Phil, the head attorney of DuPont. Robert shares Wilbur's case with him, but Phil acts oblivious to Wilbur's accusations and vows to help him shed light on any new discoveries on the case. He also swears that his corporation complies with the rules and regulations set by the American Environmental Protection Agency, called the EPA. Apparently, Wilbur had also reported the issue to the EPA through a letter, but he was never answered. Robert finds out that report and brings it to Wilbur, which discloses that his cows keep dying of insufficient nutrition, poor management, and normal diseases, which Wilbur isn't willing to accept. Suddenly, one of Wilbur's cows displays erratic behavior and tries to attack Robert. Wilbur ends up shooting his cow to protect Robert. This incident convinces Robert that something is deeply wrong. When Robert next shows up at his workplace, he shows his boss, Tom, the tapes that Wilbur had earlier given him. Tom doesn't like his lawyers working on cheaper things, but Robert convinces him he's going to fight the case to help Wilbur as a family friend, since no one is willing to help him. Robert later calls Phil to officially announce the lawsuit, which Phil doesn't appreciate. He assures that DuPont isn't violating any permits, and offers to send over all the documents that prove they're innocent. Scenes cut to 1999, a year since the Wilbur Tennant case. Robert comes home with the documents provided to him by Phil. He misses out on the family reunion and goes through those documents. He finds nothing unusual except a chemical called the PFOA. He looks it up on the internet, but doesn't find any information regarding it. When he engages in a conversation with his workmate, he speculates that perhaps the chemical that's killing the cows was first manufactured before the EPA started regulating permits for hazardous chemicals in 1975, which explains why PFOA isn't being investigated by the EPA now. Robert confronts Phil about his discovery of the PFOA in a private event, which results in Phil lashing out at him and disrespecting him in front of his wife and work associates. His boss scolds him at work for discussing work at a private event, but Robert explains that he knows Phil is hiding something. which he must discover through a proper court order. With the help of a local West Virginian lawyer named Larry, he sues DuPont to broaden legal discovery. Phil sends hundreds of boxes containing documents to keep Robert distracted from the reality, but Robert gives his full attention to the case and goes through every single document until he comes across the formulated name of PFOA, which is C8. He gets the name of a chemical expert from his colleague and straight away meets up with him to gather more information about the chemical. While taking notes, he starts questioning the expert and finds out that the PFOA is a synthetic chemical, just like plastic, which cannot be decomposed or destroyed. It's mainly used in the manufacturing of fabric, paper, varnish, paint, and such stuff. Robert wants to know if it's harmful, but the expert is oblivious to what its side effects are. After this, we get to see Wilbur taking his family to church, where everyone looks at him with hatred since the entire town works for DuPont. Meanwhile, Robert recalls the girl he spotted with charcoal teeth and calls the expert to confirm that overusing PFOA can cause teeth to rot and turn black. He connects the dots and figures the PFOA is being added to their water. He runs through the documents in the office again, where he finds reports of C8 levels detected in public water systems in West Virginia. Meanwhile, Wilbur visits his doctors with his wife to get his cough checked up since it's become permanent. When the doctors roll up his sleeves to draw a blood sample, they notice small blisters formed all over his arm. When he returns home, he finds his dog outside, which raises suspicion. He runs inside and finds his cow samples gone. While he quickly hides some tapes under the floorboard, his family hears helicopters flying above their house.
What happened?
Wash up.
What is
Fire.
it, Dad?
Wilbur ends up shooting in the air to chase them away. Back in the office, Robert finds an old picture of some old men in uniforms. He uses a magnifying glass to read the logo on their shirts, which says Teflon. He quickly rummages through his now organized documents and finds some magazine cutouts, which shakes his grounds. While Wilbur continues sleeping outside with a rifle to protect his family, Robert's wife wakes up with noises coming from the kitchen. It turns out to be Robert tearing apart the floorboard and sink pipes. He claims that DuPont is not only poisoning the farmer, but everyone, including them. The wife finds his discovery nonsensical and berates him for losing his mind. He finally sits his wife down to dump all the information he's discovered on his own. DuPont officially brought a man-made chemical named PFOA into use since it repelled elements like water. They used it to create a waterproof coating for military tanks. They further expanded their horizons and started making other stuff, like non-stick pans and many other household items, and gave the chemical a new name, Teflon. However, the company noticed that the employees who were making Teflon were getting sick. In order to confirm their chemical is toxic, they started lacing cigarettes with Teflon, which also resulted in many smokers getting hospitalized. Apparently, the chemical was cheap and profitable, so they continued manufacturing it. Hence, when the chemical smoke flied out of their chimneys and their waste was dumped on land, it started intoxicating the areas nearby. Robert's also seen telling his boss how they ran tests on monkeys and rats, who all died of swollen organs. To his wife, he tells her that a worker named Sue worked near the steel where the PFOA's liquid form was contained. Sue worked there while she was pregnant. She ended up giving birth to a deformed and mutated baby. Alongside the atrocities of DuPont getting unveiled by Robert, we see his wife going into labor. When his child is born, he keeps asking nurses if his baby is fully healthy and normal, which the baby is. In different time zones, he exposes to his wife how the company has been polluting the river and the land for the past 20 years with their huge production of Teflon, despite knowing it's causing cancer and such terminal illnesses among their employees and townspeople. His wife breaks into tears when Robert points out how traces of Teflon can be commonly found in everything in their house. After discussing with his boss,
"You're making too much money. $1 billion a year just in profit, just in Teflon. And so you pumped millions more pounds of toxic C8 into the air, into the water, so much so you could actually see it foam. C8 was everywhere. There was nowhere left for you to contaminate.
He exposes DuPont to Wilbur, who can't stop coughing. Despite knowing the monstrosities of DuPont, Robert suggests settling for money since Wilbur can't fight with such an influential industry. Despite Wilbur wanting to seek justice, he agrees to settle for money since he and his wife have been diagnosed with cancer. That night, he submits all his research and evidence to the EPA.
God, Jesus, Mary and Joseph. What is that?
A memo and 136 exhibits.
Robert arranges a secret meeting between Phil and Wilbur to buy his silence. After having a word with Phil, Robert is called on national TV by the EPA, where he exposes DuPont and Teflon to a wider audience. Following this, the West Virginian public is issued a notice admitting that their drinking water contains harmless amounts of C8. In 2001, another woman contacts Robert. She wants to sue DuPont for medical negligence for her husband, who died working for them. On his way home, Robert recalls a newly constituted law, according to which any company that fails to properly decompose their toxic chemicals is charged to provide medical aid to everyone they've harmed for life. He further presents his idea to sue DuPont on behalf of 70,000 citizens for lying about the harmless amount of C8 in their water, whereas Robert has already exposed them for experimenting on wells for decades that contaminate the water 6 times more than they claimed. The other lawyers think their job is to defend corporations, and going against such a prominent company like DuPont might impact other companies they represent. Their boss talks sense into them about getting justice to the public and lets Robert file a lawsuit against DuPont.
Has anyone even read the evidence this man has collected? The willful negligence, the corruption? Read it! And then tell me we should be sitting on our asses.
In their first court hearing, a famous lawyer named Harry represents Robert. He brings the EPA representative for her testimony. He asks her about the C8 ratio to water, which is higher than the considered safe amount. Since the EPA never regulated or acknowledged PFOA before, the representative fears that the case might fall back on them. So she lies in her testimony and declares the waters contain safe amounts of the chemical. This causes people to protest DuPont and their chemicals on a global scale. People start boycotting products containing Teflon, which becomes viral news. This pressurizes the EPA into issuing a fine worth $16.5 million for the faulty declaration of PFOA. Robert drives to another town to have a meeting with DuPont's board of directors. He shows them documents containing all the diseases and sicknesses their chemical has given to the public and gets them to provide medical aid. The CEO agrees on the condition that the affected people will have to go through a team of his hired scientists to confirm the levels of PFOA in their blood. Robert drives back to his boss and colleagues while the scientists set up a committee. In the year 2005, the entire town enrolls itself for a blood sample, for which they each get $400.
Bring them back here. Eat good. Hand him money around here.
$400.
Robert gets this news on Christmas, which makes him happier than ever. In the year 2006, Wilbur passes away of cancer. Robert's personal health and career also get compromised due to the recession period at his firm, which causes him to crash down and get hospitalized.
I'm sorry, but you're gonna have to take another pay cut.
Top.
You don't have any clients here. No one will take your call. On your side.
One day, he spots Sue's deformed child, who's grown into a healthy adult, but his facial features remain disfigured. 4 years later, the committee concludes their research by pointing out 6 main diseases caused by PFOA, and over 3,500 people are heavily exposed to the chemical compared to the rest of the town. When Robert returns home that day, he finds through a call that the DuPont refuses to provide medical aid and is falsifying his year's worth of research. He goes home in despair, agreeing with late Wilbur, who once told him the entire system was rigged. His wife lifts his morale by pointing out if he wouldn't have exposed them, people would still be in shadows. In the film's end, we see Robert fighting multiple cases against DuPont and making them pay every time. I am sure you liked the story recap. Please don't forget to like and subscribe to our channel for more amazing recaps like that.